Hi, and welcome back to another episode of The Breakdown with Bethany. I'm Bethany Braun-Silva, and today my guest is Jenna Bush Hager. I am such a huge fan of Jenna's. You can even say that she's maybe one of my idols. I love this author, talk show host, and mom. And on this episode, we get to talk about something that's really important and a cause close to Jenna's heart. So you're definitely not going to want to miss it. Jenna, you are known for books, for being an advocate for conservation, for sustainability, and for nature. And also, you're sort of like a pinnacle of literacy for kids and adults. So I'm wondering, how does it feel to sort of blend these two or really multiple passions on this project?
Oh my gosh, that's the best question I've heard all day. Thank you. And it was so kind. Yeah, it really is sort of a dream project because you're right. I come from my mom took us to the national parks every year. I love to be outdoors. I love nature. I got engaged in a national park, and conservation is obviously something I'm really passionate about. And I love literacy. I mean, I think there's no better way for our kids to be empowered than through children's books. So, this combination, when Dawn came to me and said, let's write this book, The Wonderful Life of Blue, I was like, yes, it's the perfect way because I know that our kids are going to be the ones that inherit this beautiful world. And so they need to be armed with all the ways to make it beautiful, to save it. And so I was so happy to partner with Dawn and create this book that has filled with tips, just small things that kids can do to make a huge difference.
What can you tell us about this book, and what was the
Yeah.
process like creating it?
Well, I was so excited because it is an ebook, it's free, it's downloadable anywhere. So I hope that parents and their kids wherever they live will download it together. We'll talk about ways that they can make a difference. And ways that kids can really be empowered to make small changes that will save the world. But it's also just a really fun story. It's about kids that use their imagination uh, to make good, to do good. And I read it to my 3 year old, who is obviously a picky reader. He's only 3, and he keeps saying blue, blue, blue. So I feel like it's a big hit in the Hager household. So I'm hoping that others will find it. It's fun. And the illustrations are really beautiful. But the goal is that at the end, kids will understand that they can change the world.
So, in addition to this amazing new ebook, what are some other tips you have for families who want to start teaching their kids about sustainability or maybe even conservation? And do you do these in your own family?
Yeah. Well, one of the things that's really cool about the ebook is that at the very back, there are specific ways that kids and parents can change the world. So there are certain things like, making sure you don't leave the water on too long when you're doing dishes, making sure. And one of the things that's awesome about Dawn is that their soap is so incredible. And I'm not just saying this because, listen, mama cleans a lot with 3 kids, but that you don't have to have the water on for as long. So there's like tiny little things. And my husband was an Eagle Scout. So he's always telling the kids, like, make sure you turn off the tap while you're brushing your teeth. Make sure you're recycling and reusing plastic if you have to use it. We have the type of water bottles that they take to school every single day so that we're not just filling our house with plastic, trying to not use plastic as much. And picking up trash, where making sure if you go to a park or a picnic or whatever, that you're not leaving trash behind. One of the reasons why I love Dawn is they work with 2 great organizations, the International Bird Rescue, my parents are birders, and the Marine Mammal Center, which are 2 really trusted organizations in conservation. And so they're partners on this book with us, which also felt like authentic and awesome. And they do such incredible work. So I thought the other thing that was fun as I was doing this with my kids is that each of them Googled organizations, looked them up, learned about ways they can get involved, which is another thing that kids at home can do.
Yeah, it seems like you're really making a lifelong impact now, sort of instilling these these values about, conservation and wildlife at a young age. But and as much as we love to get outdoors, I'm a New Yorker and a mom of 2 kids. You live in New York now with 3 kids, and it's gonna get cold, Jenna. So I'm wondering, what do you recommend, and what do you do with your own kids? And of course, it's New York. I don't know if you can hear the siren blaring in the back, but what do you do
Welcome.
when you can't get outside, when it's freezing out and you can't go really explore nature maybe as much as you'd like? We are in the middle of a big city. What are some indoor activities that you do with your brood?
Totally. Well, first of all, I think getting outside is so important. So even if it's cold, we try to always go outside. We bundle up, we go for walks, we're outside because you just feel better. Even in the city, there's green spaces everywhere. So I sort of am of the mindset that even when it's freezing cold, try to get outside. And obviously, as you know, New York has such good winter options like skating rinks, both in Central Park and then downtown, closer to where I live. There's so many fun things you can do. But so I say bundle up if you can and get out for just a little bit. But indoors, we love to play games. Uno is a favorite at our house. We love to do dance parties. Like the point is kids have to move, you want to move that energy. So we do dance parties, hide and go seek. One of the really fun things we love is a capture the flag in the dark. We can't, we turn off the lights and play it inside. If there's not many places to hide, but my kids are little. That's super fun. It's just like, it's about being together and sort of having that uninterrupted time. So it's, it doesn't have to be, I also think moms are crazy busy and it's sometimes tricky. So it's like, I'm not that much of like a DIY crazy mom. It's like, even just like laying on the couch with my kids and popping popcorn and watching a movie. It's like, let's give ourselves a break, just have fun. So I'm not as crafty as I'd like to be. I'd like to be the type of mom that like makes a huge mess and creates all these DIY things, but that's not me. And I think that's okay too.
It's totally okay. It's not me either. But I have to ask, sort of while I have you in front of me, almost like a personal tip from like mom to mom. Like one of my older boy loves to read. He can't get enough of it. My 7-year-old is really struggling just to get captivated, just to find a book. I mean, there's so many incredible books. We actually own our big backyard. Like we own these books, like we own amazing books. But what do you tell a mom or a parent or anyone really who's struggling to help their child not only just sit down and read, but also kind of discover that joy in reading?
Yeah. Okay. So my first tip is, do you read to him?
I do.
Because okay, so that's a great way to do it. Like find something that he's into. So if he's into skateboarding, find a book that's about skateboarding. If he likes mysteries, find that book. If he's into kind of, wizards and fantasy, find whatever it is that you think he's into. Have him sort of do the buy-in. So whether you go to the library or a local bookstore, have him like maybe kind of write his teachers and be like, what do you think's a good for you to read, a good subject? I mean, him that he'd be into, but like, what's a good level for me to read to him? Go sort of slightly suggest it, but let him pick it out. That empowers him. And then you read it to him at night, because it's also that uninterrupted time with a parent. I have a 7-year-old too, and I'm reading to her every night. She's not reading to herself yet. And her older sister was at this time, but we were also in a global pandemic. So life was a little different. And so it's like, I'm trying not to compare the two of them, but I feel like by reading to Poppy every night books that she's kind of into and she has some buy-in, like she's starting to be wanting to read on her own and is more excited about it. So just make it a habit that y'all are reading something he's into every night. And I bet he'll fall in love with it too.
Do you have any of your favorite books that you're actually sharing with your kids, books from your childhood? And what we would love to know, like, what are those
Totally.
books that you're so excited to rediscover with your own children?
Okay, well, Mila and I read Charlotte's Web,
Yes.
and I'm actually hoping to read it to Poppy. It's like, I mean, my husband came home from work and he thought something bad had happened because both of us, we're both criers, but both of us were like weeping in a room. And he was like, what is happening? I'm like, Charlotte Wilbur, Charlotte's Web is beautiful and it's so fun. Read it to your son. You're going to love it. Mila is obsessed with the Babysitters Club, and I was a wild Babysitters Club fan. I was like kind of the nerd who no boys like. So I was obsessed with Logan and Marianne. Anna Martin is like a hero of mine. So that was so fun to watch her read those. I'm trying to, well, I'm also obsessed with Kate DeCamillo. She's written everything because of Winn-Dixie. And I'm reading right now The Tale of Despero to Poppy, which is the wildest, weirdest. She's incredible. She wrote the Raimi Nightingale series. She does Mercy Watson. Like, she's actually kind of a genius. Any of those are so fun to read to your kids. I was a mystery person. Like, I loved all the Goosebumps as a little kid and all those types of series when we were little. So I can't wait when Mila's a little older. I don't want to scare her, but to introduce her to those. And in fact, that's a good way to get boys into reading. I taught like the Goosebumps series that for younger kids for my 6th grade class. And they loved it because scary stories make you just want to keep reading. I'm reading a mystery right now, and every free break I get, I'm like, goodbye, kids. And I just go close my door to read, because mysteries are those compulsive books where you cannot wait to find out who did it. So that's another good, not too scary, but that's another good thing to get kids like really engrossed in reading.
That's great. And so my final question, Jenna, is, obviously we can see you every day on our TV screens in the 4th hour of the Today Show with Hoda, but what other projects do you have coming up? Because we can't get enough.
Yeah, well, I'm so excited about this book. This is my most on my mind, and I hope everybody will download and read it with us. And then I'm also really proud of the book club that we built at NBC, Read with Jenna. It's been awesome. We're about to be in our 4th year, and I think we've had over 30 New York Times bestsellers, which has been really great. So I feel like through that and a production company that we're building, there's a lot to be done. But that, it's like all kind of based around reading. I definitely have a mode operandi, reading and children's books and all the things that I feel like will hopefully make our world slightly more empathetic and compassionate.
Very on brand. Okay, so if we want to download the ebook, where can parents go to do that?
dawndish.com/book.
All right. Well, Jenna, thank you so much for the time. I cannot wait to read the book.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.